This is a quick look at the sixth run mode of Just Friends called Spill. Spill is closely related to Sift and Shift. It works fairly similarly, except that in the case of Sift and Shift we relied on an external oscillator as a trigger. With Spill mode we use the identity as the trigger, and specifically the end of cycle of the identity triggers the reset for the other 5 of the waveform generators. So if first of all, we're monitoring in red identity, and at the moment we're monitoring the 4th output as green. And I'll just put in the dummy cable. Now we are in the spill mode, and you can see how the green is being re-triggered at the low point, the end of cycle of identity. So if I adjust the frequency, you can see how the reset point of the green waveform tracks with the end of cycle of identity. So in spill mode, identity works as it does in regular non-run mode. It's the rest of the outputs that are affected, and they're affected by identity. So, you know, you've got your wave shaping as per usual, and what we're mainly exploring in spill mode are various sort of sync effects. So let's first talk about CV in the run mode. So in Shift and Sift, CV adjusts the threshold for where in a waveform the reset takes place. It does the same thing in spill mode, but in spill mode you're limited to the actual period of whatever identity is, but you can't really set independently like you could with an external oscillator. It's totally based on your frequency, and the in tone is adjusting the relationship between the frequency of your identity and the other waveforms. So it's a bit more limited, and therefore if you adjust the CV, if you modulate the CV for run, you're going to find that it has a pronounced effect, but it's very limited in the sense that it will usually only move between 2, 3, or 4 states. So at the moment we're at 0 volts going into run. I'm going to now go down to -5. So now we're at -5, and we can see that this the green waveform is being re-triggered at every single end of cycle. If I raise the voltage back to 0, then it's really only happening at every other. And then if I go towards +5, it becomes less frequent. And once I hit +5, it's almost like I'm not even in spill mode at all. There's a little bit of an effect, and it depends on the setting. Sometimes you'll see no effect at all at +5 volts. So I'm going to go back to -5. And as I was saying, this is really all about sync effects. So let's take this out and move it to mix. So you can see clearly on the scope how we are dealing with a lot of synchronized waveforms, in this case summed together. And it's these timbres that the spill mode is here for. And you can generate some interesting ones. And the key thing to remember is that identity stays the same. It's not in itself being reset. It's resetting the rest of these. So you have identity there in the background providing a sort of root pitch, root timbre, and then everything else is producing harmonics and subtones and undertones and all that stuff. So that's a quick look at spill.